Hey guys, this is Alexander Williamson here with the secret history living inside of your aquarium. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a specific type of shrimp. So this will be the first part of a series where we're discussing more shrimp than just neocaridina, caridina, that includes cherry reds, tiger, crystal reds, bolt shrimp, Taiwan bee shrimp. They're all great shrimp. They're all awesome. They've become very popular and in many cases very pricey. And I was thinking, okay, what other kind of shrimp can we keep in our same tanks? What kind of shrimp can we keep in our fish tanks too? So this video is going to cover 3 specific shrimp that are all in the same family. And this one that you see on the screen now is the one that really drew me in first, and the one that is known as a green lace filter shrimp. Now, this shrimp has some of the smallest filters fans on its front parapods or legs or arms, however you want to say it or see it, of any shrimp. And so the other nice thing about all these shrimp is that they are very similar in their upkeep and water parameters. And so I'm kind of going to go through and show you guys a little bit about these shrimp, but I'm also going to talk about them all as one, because with like water hardness, pH, KH, GH, it's all within zero point 0.2 of one another if there's any difference at all, and in a lot of websites and sources say that there isn't a difference. So let's jump into this. These are all Southeast Asian filter feeding shrimp, so that means they're going to be eating a little bit differently than your neocaridina or caridina shrimp. They are a lower order shrimp, so they do not give live birth. They have babies that are larval, and in many cases they need brackish water or salt water, and then they basically go the opposite way of salmon, and they spawn out in the ocean, and then they come back and they live in marshes, swamps, and streams. That's not the case with all of the subspecies. There are variations to that, but it has made it so that we do not really breed them in captivity much, if at all. There are a few exceptions at universities or really dedicated hobbyists, but that also means that you're gonna probably pay more, since they are not a schooling or swarming type animal. They do hang out in small groups, but of half a dozen or so in the stream rather than a whole bunch. So the scientific name for this whole group, it would be Atyopsis or Atyodii. It depends on who you ask. It was reclassified recently. In 1983, a man by the name of Fenner A. Chance Jr. Realized that they were different than a lot of the Atya or Atya. It's a Latin name of a group of shrimp. That they were different because they had a big spur on their front little bobbers. And as a pointer, I'm going to use my my tweezers for my aquascaping. It seems fitting, right, guys? All right, so let's move on a little bit. So if we look at the map, these shrimp we're going to be covering what you know as bamboo shrimp. So they are in Taiwan. So this would be the northern range of these shrimp. They also happen to be found all over, from all the way down in the Maldives to Sri Lanka, India along this coastline, and a pocket here, and then a whole bunch in here and here, where we don't know exactly if there may be more than just 3 species in this group of them, because it could be that they're in there, but Myanmar or Burma has been in conflict or under a oppressive government that wouldn't allow people to collect or goods to come and go quite as easily. And so only recently now are we getting in there and realizing what a wealth of biodiversity of fish and shrimp there are. To the southern range, these shrimp extend down into Indonesia, Sumatra, Semarang, and then they actually extend farther out to American Samoa, is the farthest they're found west. So you've got a big range of them, and they evolved kind of similarly, probably coming from a saltwater shrimp of some sort, and then evolving that way. They also are known to be rafters, so they will hold on to pieces of wood or plants, and they will float on it. And they use their filters to eat out of the water whatever they can grab a hold of, so they can make long journeys. Some evolutionary biologists think that that may be how they made it to all these islands and things like that. When we're speaking about these islands, when you talk about the Maldives and the Andaman Islands or the Coral Islands over in here, they're kind of known as lesser islands, whereas the greater islands are ones with high mountains and good flow of freshwater streams from rain, and that would include everything from Sri Lanka, down here in Semarang and Java, Sumatra, Borneo, Celebes, the Banda Aceh regions of. So there's two regions. There's Banda Aceh and then there's Banda Sea. But the Banda Sea also has some of those greater mountains. The Philippines has them, and Taiwan, and all the way to the north here in Okinawa, there are also some of these volcanically formed tall mountains in the middle of the ocean that are good for shrimp. And that's where we're finding a lot of the shrimp in the hobby. Okay, so moving on, you may recognize these. So these are, you see their fans, and those are the quote-unquote spurs that set them apart, are there with the fans. They also have a delicate whisker system on their rostrum or their nose, and that set them apart. They're found, like I said, in creeks and streams, in basically water that stays 70 to 80 degrees all year round. That can fluctuate a little bit with the rain, but the rain in the monsoon season is usually pretty cool, pretty warm anyhow. So there's that. And then in these islands, the pH, if anything, it's a little bit on the higher end. There's a lot of coral in the water and things like that just surrounding the area. And so all these species that we're going to talk about are to be kept in a pH of 6.2 to 7.5. Some people say you can push it to 8, but they're most comfortable right around 7.2. The KH would be 3 to 10, and the GH, the general hardness, it seems to be a little more diverse, but there needs to be at least about 5 on that hardness scale, so that they can form their exoskeletons. Now, all these shrimp are a little bit larger than your neocaridina and caridina shrimp. They also eat differently, so they can utilize different aspects of your tank and actually keep it cleaner. As they're filter feeders and they grab particles out of the water, that's a great way to, in a fish tank or something, you can use these shrimp because they grow up to some of the, like the bamboo shrimp, as it's known, the Taiwanese bamboo shrimp. It will grow up to 4 inches, with most growing 2 or 3, as well as the other Atyopsis mouccensis, which is another form that looks very similar to the bamboo shrimp, but it's kind of its smaller cousin. And both of them eat with filters, and they pick a spot where there's water flowing, where there's like a stream or a swirl of water, and plankton and vegetation, maybe even detritus, and they pick a little spot and they hang out there. So that can be a plus or minus in your tank, that you'll probably know where to find them because they'll have a little perch that they'll hang out in, and that's going to be their little go-to spot. sorry about that, more rivers that they would be found in along root systems and in little waterfalls. Here again is the one that sparked my eye the most because of their patterns. Now, these are popular in Russia and in the Balkans in their hobby. Germany, they can also be found, and now they can be found in the U.S. You can find them at websites like AZ Gardens or Aquatic Arts, and even Amazon has the Atyopsis pilipes or green lace filter shrimp and the bamboo shrimp. The Atyopsis mouccensis, sorry guys if I'm butchering that, it's a little bit harder to find. It's known as like the small bamboo shrimp or the filter feeder fan shrimp. They're all closely also related to the Singapore flower shrimp, which has been in the hobby for a long time. But these guys are kind of cool in that they come in many colors and very different patterns. So you can see here they've got purple and red, everything from clear and spotted. But they've got, like I said before, they all have these filters, and these ones happen to be small, and their rostrums up here have more sensitive antennae that go all the way out instead of up. And their eyes are actually fairly well formed. If you can see, they have a pupil or some sort of receptor. So they are very good at spotting little teeny things and also spotting danger. And they kind of only leave their little perch that they generally have in your tank or in the wild when they're molting and their shells are sensitive. And they're really, at that point, they can be in trouble. Now, when they're young, they can look kind of funky. After their larval stage, they have 4 larval stages. Some of them can be as clear as like almost an amano or something. And that's kind of those shrimp. The cool thing, if you can see when we flip back through, there's a lot of variation in their color, but they're all being caught out of the wild, so it's kind of a crapshoot, and people end up paying more for different colorations, and you kind of get what you get when you order it from anywhere other than like Aquabid or an importer that specializes in high-end stuff. They really like high flow in their water, not like crazy blasting them, but good flow. They need at least a 10-gallon tank, all 3 of these shrimp. And they do not breed in captivity, as I was saying, so it's hard to cross traits. So, you may out in the wild have a million shrimp, and there's a couple that are, very special, and they'll go for more. Like this may be the green lace that is common, but like a purple one may be more rare and therefore fetch more money. But on the bulk order websites, you get what you get. They kind of net them all in when they're young. And the price kind of seems to range from the cheapest I've seen before shipping is about $18. And that ranges up to about $40 for your normal shrimp. There was one website that had them for a little cheaper. If you bought like 20 of them, you could get them for about $12 a piece. And I don't know the quality. Moving on, we're still kind of talking about these same shrimp, but these ones are called Atyopsis pilipes, or they're also the mouccensis. Sorry guys, I'm butchering the Latin there. I'm not from Latvia. I mean Rome. Or academia. I should know how to pronounce these things better, but it's tricky, and I can't find any videos where anybody's pronouncing them. So it's spelled Mouccensis. So mouccensis, I would guess, mouccensis, and they're the 3 in the Atyopsis family, which is Atyopsis. So you've probably seen these. They were first introduced to the U.S. pretty heavily through like Petco and PetSmart via Singapore, and that was in 2007 when they made the big effort to get them out there. But they've been known to the hobby for decades. And you can see the fans and the more delicate features of the mouccensis variety, which are found in warmer waters. Now, with these ones, because they have gentle fans rather than large fans, and they're very small, fine feathered ones, they are more precise and they need higher volumes of food in the water. So they are really for a well-seasoned tank. They're not as good for a new tank or something like that. It's great to keep them with fish that aren't going to eat them. They're a chunkier, heavier, bigger shrimp, and so that helps. You can see how different sometimes on these the markings can be and the colors can be. So when you order them, it can really be odd. With these ones, they've just been called small bamboo shrimp or called by their Latin name, and they only grow to about 2 inches at max, but they're almost identical to bamboo shrimp or the flower shrimp. But the flower shrimp are from a different lineage historically. So the 3 of these shrimp that are classified together, they were all classified in 1847 originally into that wider group that included flower shrimp and things. But since Fenner classified them in 83 by the spike protruding off of their fan arms or front legs there, their parapods, that has changed the classification. But it was good that we did that, or he did that, and the scientific community adopted it because that actually turned out genetically to be a major factor, and DNA-wise, these guys are quite different from some of the other filter shrimp. So you can also get these blonde colorations, and they're rather interesting and beautiful. They seem to have the smaller eyes, and yet again, you can see the filters are a little denser on some of these. Not really good at grasping compared to some shrimp that have such delicate features. But you can get this banding and stripe pattern. And in Russia, they are attempting to breed the bamboo shrimp a little bit more selectively, but it's still, I haven't read anything that they have accomplished, selectively breeding all red ones. It's more, we're going to breed 1 million and pull out the best that have the traits we like, and then we'll have babies with those, and maybe they get a few more. Maybe they get 1,000 out of 1 million instead of 500 out of 1 million that have the traits, and thus this ends up making them cost more money if you're seeking specific traits. But they're completely peaceful. They're fun to watch. They collect. Right here you can see like debris that they're collecting. They help clean the water column really well. And a side note is if they're ever digging in the substrate, that is a dire sign that you should be feeding them or supplementing their food source. If you have like a 50-gallon tank or a 40-gallon tank with fish in it and it's already been cycled, there should be ample plankton and cephalopod, little teeny cephalopods, or Daphnia seed shrimp, as well as bacterial alfucs that they eat as they break off into the water. And you don't even need to feed them in a large tank, like supplement them at all. They don't have the care requirements of, say, Caridina, tiger shrimp or Taiwan bee shrimp. They're a little more versatile, other than the temperature. They do like warmer water. So if you see them digging in your tank, you need to be supplementing with some sort of shrimp food, and that's that. So you can see the red ones. There's actually quite a bit of phenotypical variation from kind of crazy noses. This is probably still a younger one, but you can see how red it is versus that last one, which almost blends in with the grain of wood in a freshwater stream. And then there are also some that, interestingly, they can kind of tuck all their legs back up in, and a lot of them have a clear body. So they're kind of a cool shrimp. These ones are the smaller version of the bamboo shrimp, and as I said again, those are known as Atyopsis. Sorry, had to clear my throat. They are known as Atyopsis um, mouccensis. So sorry, I'm having such a hard time with that one. And then their counterparts, the bamboo shrimp, are also available in the trade, and they're getting less expensive as they have been growing them in Southeast Asia on farms, and that has helped, I guess, create more of a market as well as more of a place for them to breed in salt water and fresh water. Now, these bamboo shrimps you can get as cheap as $10 if you have someone locally sourcing them. Here in Seattle, I've happened to see them for that amount. But they're really, to order them, to order nice ones with markings, usually you're going to be paying anywhere from $20 to $40 plus shipping and handling for high end, if you want to call it that. One of the major downsides to these shrimp are that they only live 1 to 2 years. You can't breed them in captivity, and like I said, they can't handle over 80 degrees or under 70 degrees, and that makes it tricky. So I hope you guys are enjoying this little series. We'll play with how it's going as the series continues. These are on the larger side and a little bit bigger than most of the shrimp that we'll be talking about in the series coming up. You know, there's 1,500 species out in the wild that we've cataloged, and we're gonna talk about some of the ones that are starting to enter the market, and maybe a few oddballs that are just kind of cool and perhaps someday will enter the market. But I'm trying to keep this fairly accessible for you guys and myself. And yeah, so the last thing I wanted to say too is if you get them, you probably want to give them a good hide, because when they molt, they are very shy, but then they'll be right back in their spot. So they may hang out right across from your filter, or if you have power heads, they may hang out near that. And you can just kind of sit and watch them delicately do the wax on, wax off, kind of grabbing stuff out of the water column. Yeah, so they're pretty cool little shrimp, and they were actually used as a food source in almost all the places that they were found, just like shrimp cocktails almost. Apparently their outside is a little bit harder, which is good for the shrimp in that it makes them a little bit hardier. And the last thing I wanted to say about the bamboo shrimp, or the Atyopsis mouccensis, is that they are available at Elite Inverts. They've been sold out for a while, but they did have a deal where you could buy 10 for $70. Seagrass and the big distributors are also getting them in, but they are pretty much all wild captured, which I know some people also dislike, especially on small island ecosystems. But most of these are probably coming out of Taiwan, as well as Thailand and Indonesian waters. So, in closing, I would say that these ones, the Atyopsis pilipes, are probably my favorite and the one that I want to check out and possibly keep. They're really beautiful and they have some cool markings. They will not compete with the bottom dweller shrimp like the neocaridina and caridina shrimp that eat anything they can scavenge out of the water column or off the bottom. They are omnivores, so they will clean up whatever, and they do eat a good amount of detritus. They also eat a lot of little parasites and buggers that are in your tank in the water, which is nice, and they are not as susceptible to a lot of parasitic infections as some of your other shrimp. So definitely one you guys should check out. green lace filter shrimp, or green lace shrimp, or bamboo lace shrimp, or miniature bamboo shrimp. They have several trade names, but the most accurate one would probably be to search. I'll write them in the description, of course, but to search for the actual scientific name. So, hope you guys enjoy this. I'd love to know if any of you guys have kept these. I know the bamboo shrimp have been kept quite a bit. The miniature bamboos subspecies are also pretty interesting, and they've been around since the late 2005 to 7 range. And the green lace filter shrimp are quite a bit newer to be mass scale on the market, although some were brought in off and on since the 70s. But they're a smaller, probably look a little bit more like your Caridina or neocaridina shrimp if you have a colony going. And, you know, maybe a couple of them, 1 to 4 of them, you know, you get 2 inches long, and they have very small little fans on this species, the pilipes, and I think they go great together. They also clean the water great in a bigger tank with big fish. So if you learned something, if you stuck with me this long, I appreciate it. I have more coming. I can make these more concise if you guys think that this is just a little too much info and talking. And I will talk to you guys next time. Be sure to click like, subscribe if you want to see more of this, and if you want to help me be able to go get actual like footage of these things from keepers and spend more time on these videos, there's always the Patreon support button, and that is much appreciated. That's where I got the tripod for this, as well as some of the cool stuff we've been looking at in my tanks lately. Alright guys, take care of each other, take care of your fishies, and keep on swimming. Talk to you next time. Bye.